Hello again. Coming up today here on the MT and Me, we're going to get back on Pearl. But we're not going to be getting back on the dipstick tube problem or the air filter problem. I'm still staying away from those for the time being. What we are going to do is go back to something we were dealing with a couple of months ago. All right, and I've got a few new ideas. And in order to get all that done, we're going to have to hook up the battery. Thanks for joining us again here on the MT and Me. It's good to have you back, my nomies, and it's good to be back on Pearl, too. Now, I'm sure you remember, I don't know, it's been a couple of months now. I had a real momentous day when we got a battery put into Pearl and hooked it up, and I pulled the switch on the dash and the headlights came on. Yeah, and I thought, all right, that was a big moment for me. And then just about as soon as they came on, they went back off. And I couldn't figure out why. I thought, is there a problem with wiring? Have I blown a fuse or something? Because they stayed on for about, 20, 30 seconds. Now, one of them didn't come on at all. Okay, but the left one, the driver's headlight, came on. And I thought, man, that's all right. And then it went off, and I couldn't get it to come back on again. Well, I've thought about that and thought about it. I never have really gotten in there and checked the wiring or the fuse box or anything like that. But I had one of those moments just the other day, and I thought we would examine that moment and expound on it today here on the MT and Me. Now, here's what my moment was about. I was thinking about the fact that, I knew I had one bulb, that passenger side bulb was apparently burned out because it never did come on. And then the one on this side did come on, and then it wouldn't come back on, And my moment was, what if it burned out? Because I do remember there was moisture inside the bulb, and you could see it evaporating from the heat, and maybe that was too much for the filaments. And I said, well, it just never occurred to me that day that maybe I turned on the bulb and I burned it out. And the reason they weren't on is because they were both burned out. Yeah. Okay, and then it occurred to me that, okay, well, these are twin beam bulbs. They have a high beam in them, and maybe I should try that because the high beam hasn't been turned on, and that can show me if the lights are still working. If that high beam does come on, then there's no problem with the circuit. So I thought, well, I should try the high beam, and to do that, of course, there's this switch right here in the middle of the floorboard. That you do with your foot. Now, this is something a lot of you may have never seen before. If you've never driven a car made prior to, 1985, maybe, I don't know exactly when they started going to the dimmer switches built into the turn signals, but it was somewhere after the 1970s. This is the 77 van, and it's still got the foot switch in it, which is the way I learned. Whenever the cars I learned to drive in all had the foot dimmer switch in them. And I'll tell you a funny story here while I've got a chance. Okay, let me get comfortable because this will take a second. When I was a teenager, when I was still in high school, one of my best friends, a guy named Steve, had a Volkswagen microbus. Okay, so it was our own little hippie van that we went to school in and went all over the place in, and drove constantly. And I drove it a little bit. It's really my first experience, I guess, driving a Volkswagen. Okay, And one time I was driving it at night. Okay, I was driving and it got dark. And and I'm like, Steve, where are the headlights? And he told me where the switch was, and I turned them on like that. And they were on bright. And I started stomping around on the floorboard looking for a dimmer switch. And Steve, I can't find the dimmer switch. How do you dim the lights? And he said, flick the turn signal. And I went, say what? Flick the turn signal. Okay. Click, click. No, man, it goes left and right, and that's all. And he says, no. Flick it towards you. Really? Yeah. And so, click. And the lights went dim. And that was my first exposure to the dimmer switch being in the turn signal, which is a European automobile invention. You know, it was very common in European automobiles, including Volkswagens. And this was like a 60-something microbus, so they'd been doing it for a long. I don't know if they ever had foot switches over there. I'm not sure, but anyway. And then before too long, before you know it, here it is in America, and everything you drive, it's got the dimmer switch built into the turn signal, and these little big heavy-duty foot switches are just gone forever. But this one's got a foot switch. I like that. That's very nostalgic for me. So I don't have to click the blinker switch toward me to change the lights. But what I am going to do here is get the battery hooked back up and pull the light switch out and hit this dimmer switch and see if anything happens with the headlights. Now, there's still a very good possibility that they're both burned out completely and nothing's going to happen. I don't know. We won't know until we try it. So why don't we go hook up the battery and then see what happens. All right, battery's hooked up. So let's pull the light switch, see what happens. So, still no lights. Let's do the dimmer switch and see if that makes a difference. Apparently, it does not make any difference. Don't want to look at my dash lights. See if I can make sure that they are still coming on. I can't really see if I'm getting anything or not. So I tell you what, I have the keys. Turn on the accessories, see if the radio works. There's a very real possibility here that I may not have any battery power. Maybe I'd better check that before we go any further. less than 2.5 volts. That should be something more like 11.5 to 12, right? Well, okay, it just so happens I have just the thing for that problem. I've been waiting on the chance to use this. You may remember I showed it to you, I don't know, a couple of months ago. I bought it. In fact, I think I bought it before I ever got a battery. And it's a good thing because obviously I'm going to need it. I've not even unboxed it yet. So, let's see if we can... Okay, this may be... Oh, okay. Never mind. Ah, there we are. Alrighty. Ah, smells like new electronics. That's nice. Okay. Manual, I'll look at that in a second, but ain't that pretty? Looky there. The EverStart Max 40 amp engine start, 15 amp rapid charge, 3 amp maintainer. So it should be able to generate power to actually start the engine, which I'm not interested in doing right now. I do want to get a charge on that battery. So that's exactly what we're going to hook it up and see if we can't do. But I guess I better take a moment to look at the book and see exactly how. Okay. So I'm going to do that, and we'll be back in just a second here. Okay, after carefully reviewing the instructions, I have attached the negative lead to the ground connector on the engine block. And it says attach the positive, of course, to the positive terminal of the battery. So we'll do that. Then, let me get the power cord. We plug it in, and it should go into what they call standby mode. And now, according to the instructions, we push the charge voltage. And apparently it's gone into battery recondition mode, which I didn't tell it to do, but maybe it has to do that on its own. Let's see if we can take it out of that. Maybe not. Well, it appears to be determined to go into battery recondition. So I'm going to let it do that for a while. And I'm going to go back and read in the book some more and see if I can find out anything else. Stand by. Okay, looking at the manual a little bit more. I noticed before it went into that floating mode, not floating mode, but the reconditioning mode, it listed FLO on the battery display, and the display didn't go full scale, but it went to about maybe 80% and then dropped back. So it is possible that the battery has a charge on it, and it's going into, when it goes into that FLO, which is float mode, that basically is not necessarily a reconditioning, but it's a sustaining mode that they can stay in up to 18 hours just to maintain voltage on the battery. So I think I'm just going to leave it hooked up this evening, and overnight we'll come out and check it in the morning and see what it looks like and see if we got enough juice to try anything or start anything. That'd be the best bet. But I did also notice something. Remember I told you that according to my meter it was only showing about 2.5 volts on it? There's a little note here at the very end, in very fine print, that says if the battery to be charged has fallen below 2 volts, the battery cannot be recharged with this charger. So I don't know if my 2.5 would be close enough that it just won't recharge it or not. Time will tell. We're going to leave it overnight, and we'll be back out here in the morning, and you'll be here with me to check it on the MT and Me. Alright, Nomies, we're back. It's the next day. Everything survived the night, despite a pretty good storm that occurred. And it's just sitting here flashing in standby gnome. Standby gnome? Standby mode. Standby gnomes, it's in standby mode. So, well, you can actually see it flashing there. So that's what we got. So I think what I'm going to do is turn this puppy off completely. What's interesting, you unplug it and the display stays on until you do this. You disconnect the battery completely. And then it goes off. Takes a second, but it goes off. So, okay, all right, we've got all that done. Let me get this out of the way. Put this down there. We're going to check our battery voltage again. See if the meter shows any difference, okay? Dun, 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 dun. Voltage. We have just a fraction of a volt with no contact whatsoever. So let's see what it shows now. Even less. Let's disconnect this thing and just see if that makes a difference. I don't think it will. Well, this is interesting. It's registering a steadily increasing voltage, very slowly increasing voltage. So I think I'm just going to hold my probes right here and we'll see how far it goes. This is about where it was when I initially checked the voltage yesterday. It was 2.4 something. See if it goes any higher now. Well, it's still crawling up, but it is rising slower than it was. And although it's kind of imperceptible, I think it is slowing down. It's what would you say? It's slowly slowing down. Okay, we've been standing around for almost 10 minutes, and this meter has just gotten a little over 3 volts reading, so there's an issue going on here. Something's wrong with the battery or with the reading system or something. So I'll tell you what, we're going to terminate this test at this point. It will disconnect the battery completely, which all you have to do is take the negative off, and look at that charge without any kind of load on it. I don't think this should really make a difference, but then again, you never know. One thing I discovered about electronics is don't take anything for granted. Okay, I do want to look at the voltage with it completely out of the circuit. And it goes right back to where it was. But it's not going up anymore, is it? Nope. Oh, there it does, yes. Ever so slowly. So anyway, there's a problem there. So what I think I'm going to do here, let's hook the charger up on the battery completely unconnected and see what it does. Okay, now the battery is completely out of the auto circuit. Plug this in. And once again, showing me the connections. Let's hit charge voltage and see what happens. It did exactly the same thing. I am puzzled. Isn't that amazing? I am puzzled. I seem to stay that way. Well, I tell you what. For the sake of this experiment, I'm going to hook this battery up one more time and just try the headlights and the accessories and see if that's made any difference. If it doesn't, then I think I'm at the point that it's going to be, let's take the battery to somewhere where they can test it professionally and I can be sure it's okay. So let's get it hooked back up, see what happens. Okay, battery's hooked back up. Everything's just as it was. Do we have headlights? That would be a no. Let's do the dimmer switch. And that would still be a no. Okay. And I don't see... My dash lights aren't working either. Last test. Flip over to accessories. The radio, which did work before, is dead as a doornail right now. Okay. Fan. Dead. This fan. Dead. And they both worked before. Boys and girls, I think I have a dead battery. And that's going to stop this video dead in the water. So, let me address that. We'll come back next time around with a battery that I know has a charge on it, one way or the other. And we'll go from there. Nothing is ever easy, is it? No. Well, it seems like we just keep having one problem after another. Little complication here, little complication there. I'm not going to let this get to me like I have the the dipstick tube and the air cleaner and all that stuff, because I know that one day I'm going to be able to turn this key, start this nice big 360 V8 up, and we're going to actually drive Pearl out of the driveway here. Actually, probably what I'll do first is just pull her forward and back her back up, you know, just to be sure all the gears work. I got to fix that rear brake before I do much of anything and be sure the brakes are working. So that's for another day. We're still focused on getting the engine started, and like I said, next week I'll be sure the battery is good so that we can double check those headlights. And the other thing I want to check is see if that electric fuel pump actually works. If it does work, then we can probably pump out what gas is left in the tank, if any, and because I have the fuel line disconnected right now, you know, from the other manual fuel pump. But anyway, we'll know whether or not that pump works, and that'll give us an idea of what to do, whether we want to continue with that or put the manual back in, replace it, whatever. There's several options there, and we will consider all of those options later on. For now, let's consider it done for this week. Thank you very much for experimenting with the electrical part of Pearl again with me this week. Here's hoping for more success next time around. But in the meantime, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Give me a thumbs up, a like, a share, and tell all your friends and neighbors and enemies about the MT and me so that we can get our subscriber list up and keep on growing bigger and bigger. And if you'd like to contribute to the Pearl Restoration Fund, there's a link below here on YouTube so you can buy me a coffee, give a few dollars to help out. Also, there's a link to the mtandme.com. A lot of good information there about Mobile Traveler and the history of the company that made Pearl. We will be back next time around with another exciting failure, because that seems to be what we have lately. But it'll all be here, and I hope you'll be with me for that, whatever. I mean, okay, I'm tired. I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. I love you, my nomies. I'm Russ, and we will talk later.